Welcome back to the Prosperous Healers Network. I am Keira Lani, and I'm here with the lovely Schwenk, and we are so excited to bring to you a deep conversation. Cami and I have been acting as accountability partners for each other, and so we've been having some really powerful and deep conversations, and we thought it would be really valuable to bring this conversation to you, our community, so that you can really look at where maybe you need to step into a stronger role of leadership. So I titled this video, what did I title this video? The Magic of Self-Leadership. That's right. So before we dive in, I'll just introduce myself briefly and ask Cami to introduce herself, and then we'll dive into this conversation. And as you join us live or on the replay, I'd love to hear any feedback, insights, inspiration that come through for you, and let us know where you're tuning in from. I am here in the lovely sunny and frosty Oregon. We've had a bunch of rain, and last night it cleared up and I finally got to see the big, beautiful moon. And this morning the land is covered with ice and the sun is coming out and it's just gorgeous. So I have been on the path of healing and healing myself in order to be a guide to other healers for really my whole life, to be honest. I've been working professionally in this field since 2005, and I've taken a lot of different paths to get to where I am now. And I realized recently that I have been extremely successful on my own terms in that I have not worked for a boss since I was 19. And I have, at the same time, I have not connected to my financial abundance in a sustainable way through all these different avenues. And so I've really been looking at how can I create something that continues to build and be sustainable? And that is how I found the amazing community that Cami and I share together. And so we're going to dive into this conversation. That's all I'm going to say about me for right now, because I really want to get into this conversation. So Cami, let our audience know just a little bit about you and your background, and then let's get into the magic of self-leadership and what happens when you really make a full commitment to yourself.
Yes, thank you so much, Keira. Yeah, my name is Cami, and I'm a wellness coach that primarily works with women, and my focus really is to empower women in health and wealth. And that's what my journey is right now with this business and just in general. But I've been a nurse for over 15 years, so when it comes to the health aspect of it, I really want to change paradigms around health and what it means to be in your body. So body awareness and things like that. So what I love about this connection that we have with this community is that I'm able to share that. So we'll get into that, but that's what I'm passionate about. That's just a little bit about me.
I love that. I love how every time we introduce ourselves, different little pieces come out. So Cami and I have been sharing this space for a few weeks now, and I'm still getting to know her, and it's just such a pleasure. So thank you so much for being here with me today, Cami. And please, again, let us know if you're here live or on the replay. And as you were speaking, Cami, I had a recognition that every time the word wealth comes out of my mouth or out of the mouth of one of my friends, there's still a trigger there. So I wonder if anyone else out there gets triggered by the word wealth, by just this idea of wealth. And so I know our plan is to talk about self-leadership, but I think this is such an important key piece to really look at what shows up when you think of wealth. And the word wealth, it speaks to money, but it's so much more than money. And thank you for acknowledging that, Raven. Thank you for being here with us live. And keep those comments coming, whether you're here live or on the replay. This is a dynamic conversation. This isn't meant to be us just speaking to you, but rather having a conversation with our community. So when we think of I am wealthy, when I said that just now, I had a completely different feeling than when Cami said I empower women with health and wealth. When I said I am wealthy, I felt this expansive feeling inside of my body. So I see why this is so connected to self-leadership, because if I choose to embody myself as wealthy, that actually, for me, and I'd love to hear if anyone else is getting this reaction. For me, that actually changed the connotation of wealth from something that I'm reaching for, or something that other people have, or something that maybe I have seen I've seen so much around the world of the going after wealth, damaging communities or hurting people. And I think that's why we get afraid of it. But when I said I am wealthy, I realized that when I embody wealth as a healer, as someone who cares about health and wellness at a deep, beyond cellular, molecular, soul level, that is something that will benefit the world for me to claim myself as wealthy. So I wonder what you have to say about that, Cami.
I love that. I was just like feeling my body like relax when you were saying that, because I've really been studying a little bit more into the idea of embodying things, like really that embodiment piece. And what's coming up for me too is that I am statement. I always feel that that's always a power statement. So the fact that you could identify yourself with, instead of, like you said, this like illusion like thing out here that like you feel like you're grabbing for and you can't ever catch, like embodying that by saying I am, because isn't that what that I am statement is calling it into yourself to say that is actually what I am. And then it puts that outlook, that bigger perspective on what wealth really is, right? It's kind of like
Mhm.
what we were talking about before we came on this call, is that when we're trying to call in money and just putting in like an arbitrary number, it's more essential to like really like itemize like what is it that you need to call in, and based on the things that you're trying to actually manifest in your life, right? Because that's the stuff
Mhm.
that feels more tangible. So yeah, that's I love that embodiment piece of wealth, because I think that's
Mm.
a really key thing to embody as a leader, is that we need
Mhm.
to like own our like since I tend to talk to women, like own our goddess, like queen nature of
Yes.
like, I'm worthy of this. Like,
Yeah, and wealth is so much more than money. Money is really just a piece of wealth. Wealth is that feeling of overflowing and generosity, and there's more than enough for all. And so I really invite you, if you have had a judgment around, and I'm going to just own it. I have had judgment around myself wanting money. Like, who am I to want more when so many people have less than I do already? Who am I to actually deserve to be wealthy? And yet, when I said I am wealthy and I felt what that meant for me, Keira Lani, in this body, in this embodiment of my soul, to be wealthy, I was like, oh, yeah, of course, that's what is meant to be. We are meant to be overflowing with goodness, overflowing with health, overflowing with good nutrition, overflowing with water, like fully hydrated, right? Overflowing with friends, overflowing with time in nature, with connections, with love. And all of that is what wealth is. And so I titled this The Magic of Self-Leadership because I really wanted to invite you all into the space of magic. And then something came through that I wasn't expecting at all, the magic of really claiming I am wealthy. And this is beyond, I want to come back to what Cami was saying about money. We don't go out to get money because we want money. Now that's where that statement, the money is the root of all evil, came from. If you're wanting money just so you can hold on to money, if you're wanting resources just so you can keep them from other people, that would make you evil. And that's what we see. We see that happening. We see corporations or people in power who are controlling the money just for the sake of controlling people. But that's not what we're about here in this community. We're about overflowing with wealth so that if I have more, that's so that you can have more. And this is so magic. And yet I can't do it for you. I can't do it for Cami. Cami can't do it for me. And that's where we come back to self-leadership and recognizing that we can support each other. We can hold each other in the light. We can hold the light for our sisters, for our loved ones, and invite them to see clearly what's available. But we can never actually take those steps for someone else. And this is where self-leadership is so important. And so Cami and I, like I said, we've been meeting just to hold that light for each other so that we can step into a greater role of leadership. And that's always comes back to the self. If you want to make a difference in the world, look within, make a difference in yourself, because that's the one thing that you actually have control over. So Cami, I wonder if you could speak to what has been the magic of really stepping into this role of full self-leadership and owning that you get to choose your life path and each step you take on it.
That's that's been quite a big energy for me lately because I there's these moments where, where it may be challenging along the journey of that self-leadership where it's like, oh, there's like a little hiccup here, hiccup there, and there's not that like there's that energy of like reminding myself that I am my rescue and that I'm capable of creating and that I'm worthy of the abundance I'm calling in. And that a lot of the times when it comes to self leadership, it's about planting seeds and remaining consistent. And so, like, and trusting the process, right? So that's been a really big piece for me of like, trusting that my aligned actions are calling in the perfect people and the perfect energies and just it's really an interesting journey of learning. Like I don't know that I've ever learned more about myself than when I started to get into this process of leadership, because when you come from a space of like wanting that service piece to like really serve those around you in a meaningful and valuable way, and allowing that to like magnetize people that really honor wanting to be on a team with you and like wanting to advocate for the things that matter to them. And I just feel like I'm tapping into that energy of like, wow, as women in particular, and I, like I said, I speak to women because I'm a woman, but I'm inspired by women. But I've just noticed as I tap into my own sense of like power and leadership and own that and like really just sit with it and allow myself to be in it, I just feel so empowered in every moment. It feels so different than going and asking for permission with everything. Like It never
Mm.
sat well with me to be in this like corporate realm where I'm constantly asking for permission for everything, for how to be, for how to act, for like everything. And for when I can go on vacation. It's like every freedom gets stripped a bit when you're in that
Mm.
realm. And to me, this is where I get to tap into that energy of wow, it's I get to create this and I'm worthy
Mm.
of creating it. And so, yeah, I really think it's a powerful place to be and I highly recommend it. Like,
Yeah, I love that, and, I think we're gonna have to come back and have a conversation about ownership of your health, the little tidbits that you're dropping in about your experience, working as a nurse and in that realm, and so many people are looking outside of themselves for that leadership, whether it's like asking the doctor to tell them what to do rather than actually taking ownership of their own health, or
yes.
looking to a boss to tell you what to do so that you can create financial stability for yourself. And
Mhm.
it takes a leap of faith. It takes courage. It takes something, a spark of really strong desire for freedom to really walk this path that Cami and I are walking. Yet you don't have to do it alone. This is the main reason that I wanted to come live here with Cami to talk about self leadership, because I know, and this has been super powerful for me. I know that I take stronger leadership for myself when A, I'm leading others, and B, when I surround myself with other radically responsible women like Cami and the other women that we're working with in our community. And they say the 5 people you spend the most time with are going to have a really strong influence on you. And I've noticed this throughout my life. You make choices like the people that you spend the most time with. You even talk like the people you spend the most time with. And so if you really want to take a stronger role of leadership for yourself, then I highly recommend looking to the people that you see doing it already, looking for guidance by watching what other people are doing who are in that space of strong self leadership. And when we first had this conversation, Cami, I remember we were talking about how much comes up in the process of, like, it's not just like magically snap your fingers. I intend to be fully in charge of my own life. I plant
Right?
this stake and now I am a leader and now I do all the things exactly the way that is ideal. So can we talk about that for a minute as we flesh this out?
Yes.
What are those things that tend to come up in the process of making that full commitment? Because I've said this hundreds of times at this point, and it's always been true for me. Every time that fully commit and put my skin in the game and make a commitment to myself by like taking that leap of faith, magic happens. Their resources show up that I didn't know were there. And then there are also things that show up that are not as fun to look at. So I wanted to address that for a minute and offer a little encouragement around that. So what is it? What has come up for you, Cami, in this process?
It's I feel like that's such a great question because I it really puts me in that space of vulnerability to be like, well, like there's just so much that surfaces. I mean, when you're I think in general, what I have found is when I start to tap into my power, when I really start to tap into like, oh, maybe I really am a leader, like that, getting past that imposter syndrome and being like, well, okay, maybe I could own this and like set aside that thought that I'm just a total imposter. And then I could actually just like say, well, I really love owning this. I really love inspiring people, and I really come from the heart. So, in general, when it comes down to it, I can just say to myself, "Oh, well, I just have to keep reminding myself that I am a heart-based leader and that I will always continue evolving and that I don't have to be perfect in any given moment." And actually, that feeling of wanting to be perfect is such a block because I have found that that's something where it's kind of like that concept. I had a coach say this to me once. It was the best feedback because she's like if you're going to be getting into like let's say coaching, she's like when you create a program, create it the best way you know how to do it now, launch it, do it, and leap into it. She's like don't wait until it's perfect. Don't wait until like all your ducks are in a row or that you think you have this or think you have that. She's like, just allow yourself to leap into the moment of creation. Like
Mm.
and so that was a really powerful piece for me to learn. And I've just learned that even one of the things coming up for me too when it comes to stepping into leadership is that I'll get to a point and as I start to really evolve and feel like I'm doing well, it's almost like that's when like certain habits in life start to get triggered. Like I get terrified of
Mhm.
my own power. Like
Mhm.
I think that's actually been my greatest fear is that fear of my own power. And
Mm.
and then there's certainly the financial piece, when you're building a business, it's a lot about planting seeds and creating the foundation. So in at the beginning stages of any business, there's an element of like worthiness to invest into your health and wealth because you really have to invest into the business and invest into your health because getting to remember that I'm my number one asset and letting go of those money wounds and like that fear around money and that feeling like I have had that fear all my life, like being a nurse, that I've wanted to shift from nursing for many years to find a different paradigm of health that resonated more with me outside of the typical Western model of health. And I never felt that I could because I felt like I could never make money like I made as a nurse. I just didn't know
Mhm.
how. And I thought it was, and even now, a lot of that still comes up where I'm like, I'll get to a point and I'll be like, oh shit, like I'm not like, am I worthy of this? Am I capable of this? Or should I just get a job? So there's lots of those things that come up. And
Yeah.
it's just a constant like, mantra of no, I'm worthy of this. I'm capable. I'm worthy. And and I have enough of a drive for freedom. Like we talked about that drive for freedom. That there's
Mhm.
like nothing can tell me that I can't be free like that. And every time I remind myself of that, like even now I'm getting goosebumps all through my spine. Like I-
Yeah.
that that's like my ultimate truth that drives me is that sense of like wanting that freedom. So
Mhm. That's so beautiful, and yeah, I resonate with everything you shared, and I've definitely witnessed, and like I said at the beginning of this broadcast, I've been on the path of entrepreneurship for pretty much my entire adult life. I started my first business when I was 23, young mother of 3 babies, and it was a sewing business, and so I've done a lot of these things where you have to work a lot before you start making any money. And I realized not too long ago that I have had a pattern of self sabotage. And I realized that there was a part of me that is afraid of the true success that I'm looking for because I think I'm going to have to work harder to have that wealth that I'm embodying, and like it feels so good to be overflowing and feeling like I'm overflowing. And then I think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be responsible for more and more other people, and I don't know if I want that. I think part of that is because I stepped into a level of responsibility for others that I wasn't quite ready for, becoming a mom at 20 and then having to figure out, how can I take full responsibility as a mother while I'm still learning and growing? And now at 49, I guess I still feel the same way. Like, I'm still learning and growing. Am I ready to take responsibility for others? But I realized, in this new paradigm of business that we're doing, it's not about that at all. It's
Mhm.
about how much can you take responsibility for your life and demonstrate that to others. And the mentor that Cami and I are working with right now does such a beautiful job of demonstrating her own self leadership and her ability to model self leadership so that we will own our own leadership rather than taking responsibility for us. And so to really recognize that, first of all, make the commitment and the resources show up. So if you have been drawn in to watch this conversation, to participate in this conversation, I'd love to hear what comes up for you when you think of owning your life path, fully taking responsibility for your life, fully stepping into that role of self leadership. What comes up for you? I'd love to hear from some of you out there. And then, um, if you've been called in to listen to this conversation, there's something deeper that your soul is calling you to, because we're just here sharing, right? We just are sharing just to offer value to the community. And if you're feeling called to be in a role of leadership for your own life, if you're craving that freedom that we keep talking about, which freedom doesn't mean do nothing. Freedom means I get to choose how I spend my time. And I know as humans, we crave productivity just as much as we crave freedom. We want to do something with our life. I know this because my sons will often use this language. I just want to do something with my life. I thought I might as well do something with my life. I've heard this a lot. And so we make choices just so that we're doing something. What if those choices were really made from a deep place within your being, where it's not, I'm doing something just so that I'm doing something with my life, but am I doing the something that will give me freedom, that will give me that feeling of I am wealthy, I am overflowing, I get to share. Some people talk about being scared. Sometimes the self-sabotage comes from being scared that other people will take advantage of you. I've been taken advantage of again and again and again. The first time I remember being taken advantage of for having money was when I was in probably the first or second grade, and I had $20 that I ended up being convinced to spend on another child. And I didn't even know, like, and what's the value of money, right? There is no value of money. So as a child, I thought, well, of course, I want one of these cute little stuffed animals. I want you to have one too. And so if we can really embrace that childlike essence of what it means to be wealthy, to see that the value of money isn't in having money, the value of money is in the ability to make choices, the ability to bless others as well as ourselves with those choices, right? The ability to, like right now, I'm following my business community to Australia. And that's a huge leap of faith for me. And yet I know that it's not about the investment. It's not about the investment you make in your business financially. It's about the investment you make in yourself. And I realized when I was like, oh, can I really do this? I'm not quite where I want to be in my business yet to spend this much money on a business trip. Um, and I said, wait a minute, why did you start this business? Because I love to travel. So we have to start doing the things we love. This, to me, this is a huge part of self-leadership. We have to start doing the things we love before the resources show up. And then those resources do show up. So I really invite you to breathe that in for a minute. There is magic in choosing to fully commit to yourself, to your dreams. And you do, like Cami said, you do deserve those dreams. Those dreams are given to you because they're part of the positive impact that you will make in this lifetime while you're here in this body. And what a precious gift that is. Oh, so my intention was to keep this short, and we're going a little bit long. So what else would you like to share before we wrap it up, Cami?
I mean, honestly, I would just say that if you have a dream inside you that's been like aching to come out, like, and you hear something like this, like something that is inspiring to you, or if it is inspiring to you, if you feel like it's some kind of answer to a prayer, like anything else that you encounter in life, if you feel like it's some kind of answer to some like something you've wanted to manifest in your life, then it's really like leap, like take the leap. Even just saying that gave me goosebumps because
Mm,
what I mean, if we didn't learn anything, the most essential thing that we could have learned from this pandemic is to remember that every moment matters and that we need to take the leap for what matters now. Like if
mm,
you want your dreams, take take the leap to invest in yourself because that's all this is. It's like she said, like Kira said, it is investing into your number one asset, which is you. And if
mm,
you deserve, if you know it deep down in your core that this is what you've been asking for and you've wanted some kind of solution, it's risk free to try this out and like figure this process out, right? And you get such beautiful resources in the on the journey. So yeah,
mm,
that would be my thing
mm.
in general.
Beautiful.
Listen to your intuition and what your heart's calling you for.
Yeah. So we didn't really talk much in this conversation about what it is that what this business that Cami and I are participating in is, but I just want you all to know out there, there is a community of healers, artists, visionaries, and freedom seekers ready to welcome you. And there is a masterclass coming up where you can learn the 3 steps that we use to really claim our healthy and wealthy lifestyle. So if you're feeling called to explore, if you're feeling a little bit curious, if you're feeling this soul vibration of connection, then that is a sign. Drop in the comments healthy and wealthy, and we will make sure to get you in for the next masterclass so that you can learn what this is all about and really feel into if this is the aligned path for you on your soul mission, because that's what we're really about. We're not about pulling people in. We're really just about inviting you to see if this is aligned on your soul mission. And so I will leave it at that. And thank you again, Cami, so much for being here. It's such a pleasure to go deep into these conversations together. And I look forward to the next one. And thank you for joining us live or on the replay. remember, you deserve to live your life fully embodied, fully supported, and fully healthy and wealthy so that you can spread your soul mission and make the greatest impact on the most lives during this precious time that we have in these bodies. And I love you all. You, each and every one, are a precious gift to this world. Until we meet again.